Oh, one, yeah. Okay, okay. So, good evening from Tel Aviv. My name here is Oren Simanian, the founder of Colosseum Sports, Sports Tech Innovation Group. I've active for the last 4 years, connecting technology into sport. We have wide network globally, and we are happy to have you all with us gathering here. I promise today, no talks about COVID, no vaccination, only second vaccination for Fernanda on my team because she is devastated. And yet only sports tech will try sports tech investments and opportunities. And for that, we brought great panelists and guests. It's a really freestyle. We have had tons of Zooms and gatherings and meetings and so on and so forth. So we want it freestyle, easy, very much less formal. And this is why I didn't iron my shirt, as you can see. So it's not ironed. And if you can see it, better. So it's my honor to invite our partners for today's event, IDB Bank, the largest Israeli-owned bank in the US, where Israeli startups and other US-based startups feel at home. I actually feel very much at home working with them. So please meet the head of technology banking at IDB Tech New York, Noa Kolp, and a very good friend. Noa, what's up?
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure being here. And thank you, Oren and Coliseum, for the partnership and this wonderful event. The passing year created a situation where more than ever before, technology is needed and being used. Much more people are consuming technology with many more areas in their lives. The experience creates greater confidence in using technology, more innovation, more technology, and more companies. Another angle of this, an angle that we are going to discuss in length today, is the investment side and angle. More people, funds, and institutions are interested in investing in technology and innovation, and with significant and much larger amounts. The growing usage and confidence in technology are pushing the willingness to invest even more. The numbers are very clear here. In 2020, investments in Israeli technology startups increased by more than 30% compared to 2019 to more than $10 billion. We're talking only about the Israeli space. And this does not stop in 2020. Investments in Israeli startups rose in the first quarter of 2021, hold tight by 82% to almost $5 billion, according to Startup Nation Central Center. The area we're focusing on today is a great example to a segment that was almost kept alive by technology through the pandemic and became even more successful and popular during this time. Digital solutions and innovations allowed sports organizations during the pandemic to stay in touch with fans, birth new business models and revenue streams. And these are only two examples out of those we're going to be speaking about today. We at IDB Bank's Technology Banking Group are seeing ourselves as partners with tech startups, sports, but not only sports, banking and serving the company at their different levels with excellent service, fees, and rates, and assisting the growth and the development of the startups and the ecosystem. And with that, I would like to thank all of you for joining us and hand the event back to Oren. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Noah. Thank you very much. It's great to see Sabrina from Argentina and guys from, was it from Dallas, Andrew and Matthew from Namibia and guys from Sweden. Hey, Murdu, my dear Ven from Sweden. Great to see guests from all over the world. We are almost 100 people on the line because we all care about money. From Michael,
Yeah.
don't you, not only money. Okay. I got it. So let's continue. It's my honor to invite and to welcome my co-host today, Shai Kleiman. Shai is on the line with us. Hey, Shai, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you, Oren. Very excited to be here and partner around this event. Sports Tech, if you look at it in many ways, brought a lot of comfort and happiness during this difficult time. And we are extremely happy to support this segment. We are all watch, do, or follow sport, especially me. And from a financial banking point of view, many of us thought that during COVID, we will actually see a negative impact on this industry. But the opposite happened, and it will be very interesting to talk about it during the panel, and to see the panelists' point of view on how do they see the future of this success or scaling up during this interesting year. Like any other industry, financial structure, and yes, not only SPAC are everywhere in the sports world. We're witnessing more sports tech related rounds, as well as bigger rounds by the companies and in the industry. We are short on time, so let's start. I'd like to present our first speaker, Michael Proman, Managing Director at Scrum Ventures. Hey,
Thanks
Michael.
again. Thank you, Shai, and thank you, Oren and Coliseum and everybody for having me here today. I'm going to be brief on my remarks. We have a lot of more qualified panelists to hear from. So I am a Managing Director at Scrum Ventures. We're I would call a boutique venture capital firm. We are tech agnostic, so not solely sports tech, traditionally investing rather in seed to A. We have about 80 million or so under management, about 90 investments at check sizes, typically about $500,000 to $1 million US, and we are going to be announcing another fund here shortly. So exciting times, obviously, not just within our space, but more broadly within the sports tech space. And I think a few thoughts on what the last 12, 14 months have produced here. I think for me personally, the biggest takeaway of the pandemic and where we're at right now is the kind of expansion of the definition of sports tech. I think there were a lot of people coming out of 2019, heading into 2020, who saw a very niche industry. And the pandemic has really expanded the definition, I think, in many different capacities. I look at it in one kind of big bubble, and that's what I would refer to as tribal tech. Right, so user bases, user communities. I spend a lot of time on Reddit, and not because I'm trying to take on like Roaring Kitty here or betting on GameStop, but really I do that for social signals. I like to see the growth of user groups and what that ultimately translates to in terms of kind of future trends, right? And when I look at social signals and tribal tech, it kind of boils down to a few key areas for me. One is kind of lifestyle, right? So what are those technologies that are supporting the things that we like to do, the things we're most curious about, interested in? Another kind of core growth area there within tribal tech, I would say, is performance. And that being, I would say, more kind of the fusion of both recreation or kind of sweating it out, and then what I would call restoration, so recovery, so things like sleep and diet and mental health. I'll get back to that in a moment. Another kind of core area, obviously, that has taken off and I see continued growth there is avidity, right? So things like esports, things like legalized gambling, areas that people are very avid about. No surprises. And then the last piece is around a narrative around sustainability. So the ability for us to kind of reconnect, whether it be climate oriented or otherwise, just a general trend in that side. So I think, broadly defined, expanded definition of sports tech in the last 12 to 14 months, kind of a focus on what I would refer to as tribal tech technologies. Those seem to be the biggest takeaways. But then the other thing I'm most curious about, and the thing I'm most interested in when I talk to startups, when I talk to other investors as well, is what are the data points? What are kind of those terminologies, so to speak, that we're going to be talking about for years to come? And I want to go back to kind of the recovery side of that before. And I talked about sleep, and I talked about things like nutrition and mental health. I think to me, that represents the biggest growth area for sports and sports tech broadly. It kind of helps us transition and takes us more from a core sports definition into what I would refer to as kind of transcending the vertical supporting other narratives, other industries. And there are a few things that I get excited about, right? Measurements, data points that in the future, I think we're going to become more ubiquitous. So a good example of that would be something like heart rate variance or HRV. If we had a number of virtual hands up right now who knew what HRV was, I don't know what that looks like today. But again, going back to that Reddit example, look at user communities, look at the growth of those communities over 6, 12, 18 months around various terminologies and watch them spiral and grow. The other one, I think, from a data point perspective that's interesting to me that I've tried to follow is blood. And I know that seems a little bit morbid, but I don't think, a good representation here, again, virtual hands, how many people know their blood type? And it's those types of questions that I want to go back to and understand, okay, where do we benchmark today on that? And then do people get curious about that? And then that goes into things like sweat and other hydration vehicles, right? So people are taking a more vested interest in data points that arguably, again, 6, 12, 18 months ago, not as much of an interest in. And then the last one here that I'm also curious about is kind of cognitive training. We're always thinking about physical training, but how are we training with our minds? How are we looking at things in a different way? I think people are going to start to measure things like sleep, right? I have a sleep number bed, right? It doesn't matter, but I do appreciate the output that I get on a daily basis, and I understand kind of my recovery data points. So I think altogether for me, the biggest takeaway again is really about the expansion of the category. People's taking a keen interest on their personal health, looking at data points that are going to drive, and help optimize performance. And those are the things that as I look at startups, I'm most excited about. Last point here is just one startup that caught my attention that speaks to some of this. It's a company that participated in the last batch of YC called Terra. They integrate various data points, right? So whether it's my Whoop, whether it's my sleep number, whether it's a readout I might have on an Oura Ring, it enables me to kind of customize the data points that I want in a very seamless way, handling all the integration capabilities there. So thanks again for having me. I appreciate the time. I always like to hear from my fellow panelists because I learn a lot more in those conversations.
In an humble way. Thank you, Michael, for sharing your key points. And you see a lot of startups we see together. We share a lot of deal flow around sports tech, and it's great to have these insights with us. So, Shai, let's invite our panelists, I guess, no?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so first, Tomer, are you with me, joining the team? Thank you, Michael. We didn't throw you out, yeah? You're here with us. Yeah, okay, I see you. Kyle Bunch, RGA Ventures, VP, Managing Director, Global Sport Venture Studio. Where is Kyle? Kyle with us. Howard Wright, C360 Technologies CEO, and a very good friend. Nir Yachin from Ludus Alliance, co-founder and CEO. Gaia Aron, player maker, one of the most promising Israeli startups, Ludus, player maker. We have Guy, the co-founder and CEO. And Shai will help me managing this panel. It'd be great. So we have Kyle, Nir, Howard, and Nir. We will have them in a minute.
Hello, everybody.
Oren? We lost Oren for a second. Kyle, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I hear you guys.
Okay, yeah. I think my Wi-Fi is cheating me, but let's see if it all works. All good, all good, all good. We're all here. Can you hear me well?
Yeah,
Or
we
I'm
can.
stuck?
We can. You're good, Owen.
Okay. Okay, so let's start with the entrepreneurs in the room. We have two of them with us, actually three of them, but Guy, first to you, as we are close, we are, let's say, 1 mile away, more or less. I'm in Bavli, you're in Montefiore neighborhood. So first of all, Guy, on your point of view, what's booming in the sports tech industry as an entrepreneur? And to follow that, how do you see the market for startups in terms of fundraising and valuation?
I think that what COVID-19 did in the last more than 12 months is either accelerating trends or creating them where they hardly could have happened before. As an example, the fact that my 8-year-old came to me a year ago and asked for me to install a Zoom on his computer. No, at one point he would have used video conferencing over the internet. So instead of starting at the age of 14, 15, it accelerated the process and he started earlier. And it's a magic that they chat. Now the other part, and this is the impact of accelerating process or technology into the process, into the life. The other part is the fact that my kids are chatting with their grandmother over Zoom, which she probably would never have any reason to know what it is. So it kind of created a new segment for people in their 80s and 90s access video conferencing in Zoom. So this is the kind of the microcosmos of what happened to sports in many academies and sports entities and teams. They realize that they cannot wait to implement the technology because suddenly Zoom is a big part of their business and the way for them to conduct their business. So it accelerated the pace in which they adopted the technology. And on the other hand, I think that the fact that most of the business has changed around sports brought them to look for new revenue resources, to be more open-minded, to think out of the box, to keep the youth athletes motivated, to bring them to be participating after they broke their habits for a long while. And again, they embraced the technology in order to offer those participants higher engagement with their audience. In general, I think that you see a lot of strong companies that the last year made them stronger. And I think in this sense, there's an interest around them and it's an opportunity for those who manage to accelerate the process to keep on the momentum and to keep the acceleration.
So in terms of fundraising, you would say that the valuations went up or more or less the same?
It's hard. You can see a few big companies like, starting from Mirror and Tonal, and there are some very big sports technology transactions that a year ago, a lot of companies around the sports tech that crossed the unicorn level. You see more and more of them. So I think it kind of reflects the trend of the consumer level and their trust and the fact that more and more people are willing or adopting. And we just started this conversation about the Peloton experience for the morning. So it kind of shows where they're heading. We hear some SPACs and companies that are heading. I think that the market and the interest around the market shifted mostly from just broadcast and just media into more the consumer world. And you see a lot of unicorns in this area. So definitely there's a new boundaries, and 10 figures mark is not a dream anymore in the world of sports technology. It's actually reality. And of course, these trends are lifting the pyramids up.
Absolutely. Adding to that, the most promising startup for 2021 from the Israeli list is a sports tech startup. So it's amazing to see this growth. Howard, I guess you agree with a Guy on that, or would you like to add?
Yeah, I agree. And I would like to add, it is the velocity in which all of these things are happening. That's the combination. It is the interconnectedness of this. We've been talking about the immersive media economy for the last several years. And what you had, Orden, is just tech companies focused on tech. But now when you interweave that with the rights holders and the broadcast, look at the NFL deal for $111 billion. Look at NHL deal for $2.8 billion. They work directly with the broadcasters around the world. Those broadcasters need higher bandwidth, more intimate and proximate engagement, not just the linear anymore. but something that can be on my iPad, on my phone, something that I can be my own executive director, and I can execute and I can change the view on my screen. You couple that with this worldwide phenomenon, which is 5G, new radio implementation around all the major carriers. You have this perfect storm, which we're calling the immersive media economy. We throw on small companies like ours at C360 and others, and that particle accelerator starts accelerating on it. This is why you're seeing this happening so fast. Now,
Absolutely.
fuel to the fire, which is betting and NFTs, and here comes SPACs, which are the hottest asset class in the market right now.
Yeah.
All of this, which used to kind of take a decade or half a decade to do individually to accelerate in one vertical, now these things are interconnected, and it's going to make all of our worlds a little bit better.
I have to agree on that.
Thank you, Howard. Kel, this question is for you. RGA is one of the most dominated sports-related brands. We are focusing today on investments and opportunities. Can you tell us how the investment focus changed last year, and what are the opportunities, from your point of view on those investments?
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many that everybody's kind of hit on here that it's hard not to echo. There's such a checklist of, from some of the media side that Howard just called out to certainly, I think a lot of the things that Michael identified from both changing face of performance, but just kind of changing awareness and how we think about health and wellness, and how sports is really well positioned to capitalize on that. I'd say I'm as interested. We're looking as much as anything at the sort of macro trend that's happening against this, which we've kind of hit on some of the financial instruments, and just seeing a lot of these things that have been happening. This kind of moment of very land grab feeling of a lot of things being rolled up, a lot of long-term deals. We're at a huge transition point, right? The NFL deal was a really good example. They don't do a 10-year deal under normal circumstances. That was we're undergoing a shift, and this is kind of where we're projecting out serious shifts in behavior, and so we're going to cash in as much as we can on this phase before the next phase comes. All of the Super League, breakaway league conversations that we're seeing, all of the SPAC roll-ups with and things like Sport Radar and kind of getting those things on the market. I think a lot of the trend right now is how do you the pieces on the board are shifting really dramatically, and how do you go find interesting companies at the early stage that where Howard was getting at, this sort of idea of a more immersive viewing. Everybody's kind of placing some longer term bets while trying to really capitalize on the last round of bets, these kind of things around, and no pun intended, things like sports betting. So I think right now is sort of that previous phase that really sparked a lot of the growth that we're seeing, where at the heart of a lot of those investments, and how some of those in the fitness space, in the media dominated by betting, are reaching a maturity point now and getting into a second generation on the back of them. And then I think a new phase that promises to come in that's going to be a lot about, transformation in how we consume games, where we consume games, some of the, collectible space, and it's really hard to look away from what you're seeing across, Dapper Labs, certainly, and a couple of raises that have taken them, 2.9 billion and then 7 billion in a matter of weeks, was it, that kind of valuation jump? So overall, I really mean when I say I think almost all aspects of athletics and fandom are a little bit up for grabs right now. And so you can kind of, I hate to give the ultimate now long-winded, non-committal answer of kind of take your pick. But for us, I think it really is, okay, for those places where a lot of capital has come in, what are some of the later stage opportunities to get involved, or the things that complement some of the clear leaders that are emerging? And then, almost every other spot, what's coming next, and how do we make sure we find some of the right companies and go back to that standard playbook? How do we find some really good founders, a diverse set of different founders around the world tackling these problems from different angles, and try to kind of go get that next wave of bets out there? Because I think by 2030, everything's going to feel, if not much sooner, entirely upended. A lot more change in the next 5 to 10 years, I would project, than the previous 20.
Absolutely. Thank you. Oren, you taking the next one? Owen stuck. I'll take Howard. You are the most recognized sports tech figure. I would like to speak to you about the fact that sports technology is evolving very fast, right? But it seems that part of the industry are not fast enough in adopting this innovation. How and when do you see this gap closing? Is it good? Is it bad? Like how do you see the rest of the industry catching up with this technology?
So Shai, I think it's accelerating as we speak. And I think it's getting faster every week, and if not every day. Think about some of the league stances on betting years and years ago, where it was forbidden. Now there's embracing NFL with FanDuels and Caesars and DraftKings. There are 26 US states that have adopted legalized betting, and there's 13 kind of on the books, in immediate future here. The acceleration, the velocity, and then again you concatenate all of these different, which used to be disparate pieces, into one, kind of intentional acceleration of, you need to digitize, personalize, and then you need to automate all of this content. You have to do it with the express written consent of Mr. Goodell, Mr. Silver, and Mr. Bettman, and Mr. Manfred, and others. But they are leaning in, just like their most valuable and most important partners, ESPN and Verizon and others, to try to find the next most intimate, most proximate solution. So here's something. Lauren and I, many of us on this thread, we've been to every cool arena in the world, whether you spend time in Madison Square Garden or at Maccabi Tel Aviv or on the pitch at Camp Nou or in one of the NFL venues. Now we, as insatiable sports fans, we want to be in the green room. We want to be when they walk out of the tunnel. We want to be where our company does, which is the line to game marker, the pylon cams. We want to see from behind the basket the sweat or the freckles or the tattoos from some of our players. We want and need intimate, more proximate solutions. That is now enabled with, again, what I was talking about, Shai, all the processing power from the cloud, which is now closer to me or on my person, and everybody's network has been virtualized, and these things are able to be delivered in a way that I can choose to be my own executive producer of the broadcast. That's what I think is happening faster than any of us predicted, and I'm certainly have been an evangelist saying that it was going to happen pretty fast.
Amazing. I guess you can't, or you can hear me, guys. I'm back.
We can. You're good.
Okay, amazing. Thank you.
I have
Thank
you back.
the God of Wi-Fi. You need to pray hard, and then it works.
Yes.
So with that, again, to the entrepreneurs, we have Nir from Ludus Alliance, the co-founder and the CEO, with the fascinating vision. Guy was talking about the B2C, and Kyle was talking about A-team entrepreneurs. So Nir, approaching to you. First of all, share with us a bit about the fascinating vision of Ludus. And I would like to know, how do you plan your next round? It's a sports tech investment and opportunities. So let's tap on your next round.
So it's great to be here. First of all, I'm Neil. I'm a former karate master, and this is my formal education as well. I'm also a serial entrepreneur. My previous venture was a diagnostic tool for ADHD, which currently is diagnosing, I think, a percentage of all Israel in a year. And you can understand that we can collect a lot of data through that diagnostic about cognitive and a lot of other things. This has actually helped me open my eyes to what we are talking about today, which is Ludus. And the meaning of Ludus is school in ancient Roman. We have the Colosseum here, right? So next to the Colosseum, there's the Ludus Magnus. It's most famous in the School of Gladiators. And let me explain exactly who we are. Ludus has developed a new sport tech technology for cognitive and physical measurement. On top of that, we took a deep inspiration for younger generation and the way we are all consuming the content. We are creating an interactive content platform that will bridge the gap between physical and digital, enabling the user to create and consume dynamic content. Now, what we need to understand that in the sports field, you have two different kinds of content. You have content for the viewers and you have for the doers, okay? So if you take the NFL is actually a content provider. They're creating a tournament and they want everybody to see the tournament. Now, if you think about what is the most, let's say, popular as for today is what people are actually watching. So the NFL is quite popular. If you take the martial arts world, there's a lot of doers, but nobody really wants to watch it. I mean, putting aside the UFC itself. So this is where we're aiming because in the content of doers, you've got webinars, you've got tournaments, you have so many things to do. And this generation, the Generation Z, is actually the ones that wants to do and share. So they're not just the doer, they're also the viewers. And this is where the future is. And this is what we're actually trying to create here in Ludus, with the technology and the platform for everybody to create users, by the users, for the users as well. And for the next round, well, we are focusing on becoming the market leader, first of all, in martial arts world, both in the gyms and the home. We're looking for both of the users. And whilst we're looking for strategy partners and investors to share our vision, we have great investors that's going with us all the way because we're looking 2-3 steps ahead. It's not just measurement anymore. You need to create the content itself. You need to learn how to provide the content.
So Nir, let me make your life a little bit harder.
Okay.
Startup in our life, you have amazing investors that I know backing you, I know them, and now going for the next round. How do you as a sports tech startup plan your next round?
Well, what we're actually going to do is to connect all the market together. We're going to provide them not just the technology, also the content, and lead them to actually provide their own content. So we'll start by providing our own productions, and it's easier to show. So I will send the link here for everybody to watch later on.
Later on, guys, don't leave us. Yeah.
I think it's the final of our tournament that we did during the Corona virus when everybody was at home.
Amazing, amazing. I wanted to get a number and a little bit of valuation, but I'm not going to get it. You're playing hard today in here. It's not going to happen now. No, I'm kidding. Yet I would, maybe to take, before we ask you, Guy, a formal question on that, how is it to define yourself as a sports tech company in terms of, it's not, coming from Israel, and again, it's not cyber, it's not fintech. How difficult is or not today to define yourself as a sports tech? You come, you knock on the door, it's like, yeah, I'm a sports tech. Sports tech, are we there or we are not there anymore? Because once, when I started 2017 Colosseum, I said I'm going to do sports tech. When I left Tel Aviv University, they told me, it's like, Oren, you can do tons of other things. Why sports tech? And I think that today I rarely or barely hear, these, kind of comments. How is it on your hand?
So in 2017, I felt the same as you described. There's so many great problems in cybersecurity. Why to pursue one for football or soccer? But the atmosphere changed. Today, I think that there's a big. There was 2 days ago in the biggest newspaper in Israel. They had a specific part dedicated for wearables, and they put us on the front page. Things that we couldn't imagine a few years ago. Now you can call it vision, or you can call it luck, but the fact is today that today more than ever there's a room and a need for technology in sports, and we are very fortunate to be at the right time and the right place. So this is my answer today. Not sure that 2 years ago I was as confident as I am right now. I don't think that everybody's questioning the sports and the technology. There's more look at it as a financial business, not just as an opportunity, but really looking at the numbers, and the numbers are convincing. And I know it's passion driven, and it was always passion driven. And I think that today the situation in the market is that the financial aspect and the passion aspects are meeting each other, and the results are wonderful.
Guy, I actually have a follow-up on this one because you're in this industry, as you said, for many years, and we have a lot of entrepreneurs to join this call. And from your experience in the last year, what are the changes that you're planning on adopting, and maybe not, in terms of technology, processes, how you build the team? Like, it will be very interesting for a lot of entrepreneurs on the line to hear you giving your thoughts on it.
So I think that the biggest benefit and the biggest problem in sports technology is that it's the passion. Nobody's starting, we talked about cyber, so nobody's passionate about cybersecurity. Nobody's waking up in the morning saying, this is what I love, this is my passion, that's what keeps me. And passion is something which is very unique. And I'm fortunate to lead a few big numbers of team members in PlayerMaker, and all of them are passionate. They are proud of what they're doing. They're happy with what they're doing. Seeing players wearing the footwear straps makes them happy and proud. My advice to this is that it's very important to separate passion and professionality. It's better to find good marketing or sales persons with sales with experience in sales and not just passion for football. So they should have the passion for sales and the experience, and the benefit is them having a passion for sports. But rather than having passionate sports people with an appealing or the dream of becoming salesperson. So use it when it's good to use it, and make sure that you're selecting or giving enough weight for the professional and the experience on the other one.
Thank you.
Follow on that. Thank you, Guy. Kyle, so we were talking about trends, what happened this year, and the follow-on and the impact on the new development. So I meet a lot of entrepreneurs today that are actually targeting, I would say, very much digitalized COVID-related solutions. So once we are going to be, we are back to normal. Actually, in Israel, I guess we are more or less, Israelis, you would agree with me, almost 100% normal here. But once worldwide we are going to be back to normal, or the new hybrid life, how do you expect consumer will react or continue the digital disruption we actually experience? And it has a major impact on many entrepreneurs' development in relation to their technology today.
Yeah, it's the big question across industries right now, right? I think I've spoken with a number of you and others in the industry, and if you look back on this year plus and things that felt like they were going to be must-have investment categories, or if you were thinking about someone who operates a venue, there were 10 pieces of technology that felt like, well, every venue will now, of course, have thermal cameras everywhere, and they'll be using that to detect people's temperature and if they have a fever, and all these things that felt like they'd become new standards that now feel like maybe that'll happen, maybe not. I think on the one side, things that are very COVID pandemic public health related are going to remain to be seen, and you sort of hit on the consumer demand side, which is what we're just paying a lot of attention to, which is what's going to change as far as what people expect in going to a game, as far as that omni-channel experience going to a game or anywhere else, retail, restaurants, etc. So I think what I'd anticipate broadly is that what had already become a strong aversion from the consumer towards just about any form of friction in trying to go out and have whether it's an experience at home, whether it's an experience out in the wild, will turn now into something more resembling, some level of allergy, for some violently so. And the idea of going out and having to kind of jump through some of the hoops that, we maybe previously had to, but now won't have to, will increasingly will not encounter, is just going to kind of creep in and accelerate a lot of this sort of convenience that has come with digital. The easiest example to point to is cash in stadiums. Everybody who has a venue has wanted to get rid of cash for better part of a decade now. and for the most part been unable, in many cases been unable to do so because certain fans very stuck in their ways. The last thing they want to do is have to pay with a credit card everywhere, and even if it might make the overall experience going to a game better, there's been all this resistance. What did the pandemic do? Perfect wedge to just blow that up. Say, hey, for public safety's sake, for everything else, now we have to change everything. A bunch of people who, in many cases, they wanted to do that for years. They were just given license in the context of this moment and society making changes. But that just builds on itself. 5 years from now, the idea of cash at a game will feel as antiquated as passing a hot dog down the aisle like we used to in concessions routinely at sporting events, baseball games in America. So with that, I think we're just going to increasingly get to this place where it's all just got to be very seamless, very easy, every aspect. I mean, still a lot of the reselling ticket process in America for all these billion-dollar businesses that have been built on the back of it, it can still be a little clunky. There can still be this moment where I've paid a SeatGeek or StubHub a lot of money, and I have this like, oh wait, is it going to show up in my account? I don't know. I just followed like the official process, and it's still got this weird handshake moment. Those things are going to have to go away. And I think a lot of attention is going to be paid towards how do we create the kind of tight, seamless experience in going to a game that we can expect from the Disneys, from the Amazons, from the Netflixes of the world. Like they're just a few gold standard companies that are establishing the way that we experience this sort of physical digital world, and sports are, and all this investment that's coming with it are going to put towards delivering on that. And that's what the consumer is going to increasingly just demand.
Kel, so this is, I can be guilty. I even got a Peloton during the pandemic, and it's actually opened for me a range of things that I never knew before. And then I learned on Tunnel and other products, and the experience that going through those devices are amazing. My question is, do you think they will talk to each other? Like, I don't see myself going back to cycling class because I'm pretty much enjoying to do the 20-30 minutes. How do you see this business affected? Would it, I'm talking about the physical one. Do you see it evolving in terms of being something in the middle between, okay, I'm now going to offer like 20-30 minutes, I'm going to improve my content, better trainers?
I think with gyms and so many other things, I kind of just feel like we're overstating how many things are going to go away. But they're all going to need to have, or many of these things are going to need to have some air of newness to them. So some like gyms, I've got a number of friends here, and, granted being in Austin, Texas, where outdoors, outdoor workouts are feasible more of the year. But there's just been a number of, different outdoor gyms springing up, and this was already a trend that we were seeing plenty of your sort of Camp Gladiators and Barry's boot camps and things that were springing up and having more outdoor workout. You're not going to have the idea of kind of group classes, group workouts, this whole kind of complex just completely shift over to Peloton. But at the same time, Peloton has reached a critical mass where entire businesses can now kind of ecosystems will get built on the top of this, huge thing. And I think the same is just across industries. You're going to have levels of just reinvention. And with so much capital out there, again, I go to something like a Barry's Boot Camp example that was a business that was doing really well, was able to raise, I'm pretty sure, a good chunk of money. I haven't kept up with their current status, but I have to imagine that an IPO's in the offing, if not already being worked on somewhere. And with that, they can go, sweet, okay, but this is a time to kind of invest in a new type of workout, in a new hybrid model of how we dine. There's going to be a whole wave of restaurants that maybe have a few flagship locations that kind of build the brand, and then virtual kitchens everywhere. You're just going to kind of see same consumer segment is going to, now we're going to have a new normal that's going to have a mix of how we've done it for the last year, helping to kind of reinvent what we did before that.
Just a short one. Thank you very much, Kyle, for sharing that. A short one for you, Guy. There is a lot of talk around KOLs, key opinion leaders in sports, and their impact, because it's a celeb industry. How do you feel, and you were able, you can mention the name, but you were able to work with or partner with one of the key leaders in the worldwide soccer industry. What was the impact on the company in terms of, finally talk about the positioning, the valuation, and so on, but how do you see it as a key impact on the company?
So sports is a hero-driven sports. And I think that I'm certain that the only way to create a giant company is to have the influencers, the key opinion leaders using, trusting, and recommending the solution eventually. We were very fortunate at an early stage to have financial as an investor support of a very big known figure. It's Arsene Wenger, it pushed us. And let's say that the impact on us first is on the product side, is on the vision side, how we can build a better product with a lot of experience. And it was an amazing access. And I believe that afterwards and today we have more than 160 top teams around the world using PlayerMaker. And each one of them are key opinion leaders or influencers for their fans, for others, and they provide high level of confidence for the consumers, for our partners, for resellers. Eventually, a kid, a young player, boy and girl, when they go to the local Nike or Adidas store, they don't really care about the materials, about the weight of the shoe or the shirt. They don't care what fabric is made of. They mostly care who's wearing it. So it is a world of a hero-driven, and the KOL that you mentioned, or influencers, is critical in our industry.
Amazing.
Thanks. Nir, I have a question for you. And you work with a lot of young people. So young generation might be lost with all the opportunities they have at the moment. When we grew up, many of us had, the classic sports industry, which was what we know, and a lot of it evolved to virtual sport. Where do you see the potential, according to your experience in your company?
Well, first of all, I don't think the younger generation is lost. I think the industry is
might be lost.
Because again, if you see the content providers, and again, the content providers are the sport organization, they are not connected to this kind of generation. We're talking about Generation Z. Well, they are children. And when I was a child, I learned to do a backflip. And I want to share it with everyone, with my father, friends. I didn't have the technology to share it, but I would like to do it and show it. It's the same in this generation as well. They don't have the ability to stay and sit and look for a tournament in 1.5 hours. They want to be the world champion as fast as they can. They will not work very hard for that, and they want to look good. So I think the industry has to change for this generation, because we need to work faster. We need to give them new kind of sports that is connected to what they want. TikTok actually showed us everybody can be a dancer. Okay, Peloton is actually a new kind of sport organization. They're leading the runners now. Okay, and I'm not saying that sport is lost the way we know it, but we need to adapt. We need to give them the technology. We need to give them the methodology, and we need to connect it to some kind of a product that will combine it in a platform. And this is what we need to do. And I think that companies that understand, if they have new measurement, new methodology, now show them how to create the content. And from there on, they will do it. The Generation Z know how to do it. So again, they are not lost. I think the industry is a little bit lost over there.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. Howard, my friend, I'm stuck, or you guys?
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm good. Okay. So I'll take this one. In many of the leading sports events, we see, we all talk about OTT and 5G, it gets high traction. Can you share with us, according to your history and your past activities and so on, and your future and current activity as the CEO of the current company, your vision regarding the two topics, both financially and technology?
Sure. Financially, as others have mentioned on this thread, the savvy investors, the seasoned investors know that they're may not allocate 90% of their fund to this, but they're going to allocate more as a function of percentage over time. The system is ready for disintermediation, and there are many disruptors on this thread, and sometimes we get to work with the incumbents. So that combination in terms of the financial part, Odin, is very straightforward. The most savvy investors recognize when there is a talent, when there is a shift in the tectonic plates, and that is happening right now. Back to the technologies, again, I think it is our insatiable demand to be proximate to an arena, to a player, to a franchise, to a color, to a league. Um, I go back to kind of Madison Square Garden. Commissioner Silver used to always tell us that there's only the total available market there was usually 35, 50 miles of folks that could get in a car, get on a bus, get on a train, and physically go to the building. Now we live in a world where if you have connectivity and a credit card and a screen, you can portal in to any one of these magnificent arenas or stadiums around the world. It just doesn't have to be on a Super Bowl or a World Series or a UEFA Cup. It can be a regular old Sunday, Saturday, Tuesday afternoon game. That is I think, the insatiable demand that worldwide consumers are seeing. And so that there is many, global soccer, EPL, La Liga fans in the United States, as there are sometimes in Europe. Sports is the common denominator. It is globalizing our access. It is globalizing our community. We want to be involved and cheer alongside. Sometimes when you're in London, you can do it in a pub. And then digitally now we've been able to show that we can do it over these Zooms and not just be beholden to the 2D kind of flat linear broadcast. That's not going anywhere. We just have ridiculously immersive content to enable, to augment to those broadcasters and to those leagues. And that's what we love doing so much, Odin.
Amazing. Nir, I see several people writing to us if they can see the product. So if you can share and show them the product, I guess some of them saw the video, so they want to see it. Would be nice if you have it on you or aside you.
Okay. Well,
the product please go.
Content itself, but what I will show is the console. Okay. Now I can call it a training tool. You see it? This is a paddle, a striking paddle. Inside embedded is a lot of cognitive training tools, and it's all based from the academic, and this is something that is very easy to use, very cheap, which is very, very important as well. And again, it's not a training tool, it's a console, and it's all connected to a platform, application. Actually, there is an mass event system. So once you can provide it and put it inside of a club, now all the clubs are connected. This is how we can actually do a tournament, a contact tournament as well, from all around the world. So
amazing. Yeah. Thank you, Nir. And I guess this was great to see the products on behalf of several people that texted me. So thank you for sharing that. Like it is on many other panels, I will ask a one-liner, Kyle, Howard, Nir, Guy, if you can share, and we will wrap it up. Who picks the opportunity?
Howard, you take it first.
Sure. We humbly think that we have the technology in the vertical at this time in the market to make a difference. It's going to be us and a coalition of startup companies like us that are going to provide, with fuel from VCs and family offices, the most immersive streams that we've ever imagined to the most precious sports content that we all love, to the leagues and the franchises around the world. That is our hero's journey, and that's what we intend to do.
Amazing.
I'll jump in. I think my general takeaway for everybody would just be, I think now is one of those moments to kind of to think and dream big in terms of what's possible, like I keep saying, but in the years to come. And I think all of us working, there's been a lot of people saying a lot of really good things about sports innovation. Why do you come to this space? I think those of us who have been in the space for a while probably have seen that some innovation here has maybe lagged what you've seen in other categories that were more disrupted, more transformed over the previous decade plus by technology than this industry has been. And I think what we're experiencing right now is a real opening of the floodgates. Over the last couple of years, we were already seeing it. And this last year really just kind of blew it open. A lot of things that we've talked about, we've hit on so many things today that we just thought, yeah, maybe eventually we'll see, the NFL Sunday ticket go away, and that there might be more of a direct to consumer path, that we'll see sports betting legalized in 26 states. I mean, when it started to open up, it felt like eventually, but that timeline looked different. So the moment we've been waiting for is here, guys. And it's, you've worked hard to kind of get to this place. And it's on kind of everybody here of, there's no shortage of opportunity. And while a few big guys may try to form leagues and go off and capture all of that upside themselves, that's not how this works, right? And those of us sitting here, those of us paying attention, have an opportunity to shape the future just as much as anybody who might try to get JP Morgan to bankroll some big top-down approach to change sports. So let's go do it.
Amazing. Guy?
First, thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you for everybody participated. The time is now to bring the tools of the professional for anyone that is seeking a way of living a healthier lives. And it's a combination of good, simple, basic, and personal experience driven by high quality solutions. And we're super proud to turn any footwear in the world into a technological infrastructure that replaces any other source of performance, and helping people to live healthier lives.
Neil?
Well, I think we need to look 3 steps ahead. It's not about where the money is now. We need to look and understand that, again, we have the measurement, we have the technology. It's not enough. You need to create the platform for the users to create new kind of content. And this is exactly what Generation Z is looking for, and they are the future. And I think that this is something that is very important to understand, and that's it.
Amazing. It was a good one. I asked Noah and Tomer to join us. Thank you, Noah from IDB, and thank you, Tomer from Colosseum, and Fernanda, that, as I said, after second vaccination, she is resting a bit, so she's not with us, but she hears us. So thank you, Fernanda. Thank you, Tomer, for making it. And I invite you all. We have our STM Sports Tech Management program coming soon. A little bit promotion by Colosseum, but I will share the link, and I'll be happy to see you over there. Managed by Tomer and Shai. Please, the last.
No, guys. So thank you, Owen. Thank you for helping us setting this up. It's a great event, and we as a bank, from the tech perspective, see sports tech as a connect for good, I call it. And we know that sports making people happy and give them comfort, but especially in the last year, it was so challenging for many people. And this technology brought them more happiness, living a better life. And we are extremely proud to support this sector, and we will continue to do that. Thank you for everyone that joined from Israel and New York, and I think we have at least like 50 countries that joined to this fascinating panel. Thank you for the panelists. You were extremely interesting and very helpful, and we are more than looking forward to continue building this relationship between IDB Bank Tech and this industry. And thank you very much. Take care, stay safe, and we will see you all very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Shalom. Shalom.
Shalom. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you very much.